Jason did not want a fake pep talk. He did not want a poster slogan, "Never give up," to do the work of an actual plan. So he asked a more honest question, one that every creator, builder, and learner eventually confronts. When things are not improving, what are the real options? Not the inspirational options, the practical ones. He had 5 channels, the same general routine, and a lot of hope that consistency alone would eventually produce the results he wanted. That hope was not foolish, but it was not a strategy either. He needed to decide what to do with the time that was still moving forward, no matter what he chose. And he decided to speak plainly about the 3 choices that usually hide behind the motivation talk. Option 1, do nothing. In plain terms, this means he stays where he is. 5 channels, same schedule, same uploading habits, same approach to titles, the same way of packaging the work. It means he waits for the outcome to change on its own. Jason ruled that out quickly, because standing still does not preserve progress, it freezes it. If the content is not finding the right viewer, doing nothing does not fix the mismatch. If a channel is not gaining traction, the issue is often not a personal flaw. It is more likely the method, how the work is presented, how often it is shown, and whether the audience can easily identify what value is inside. Doing nothing also contains a hidden assumption that the market, the audience, and the platforms are going to reward the exact same inputs tomorrow that they rewarded today. Jason had tried enough variations of effort to know better. Nothing changes by standing still, and he was not even built to wait politely. He had never been good at letting days pass without adjusting something, even if the change was small. So he did not choose the do-nothing path.
Staying still feels safe, but safe is not the same as effective. Option 2, quit. Quitting is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks quiet. It looks like pausing. It looks like shutting down for now. It looks like deciding that the effort is not worth the emotional cost.
For Jason, the discouraged days were the loudest argument for quitting. Those were the days when the numbers felt heavy and slow, when progress seemed buried under time. But then, Jason remembered something that matters more than frustration. He had already invested months of work. And then, on one of the channels, something new happened. Not a vague increase, not a random spike that could be explained away. A first real sign of life. The channel started to show that the format and the subject matter could be noticed. It started to prove that the work had the potential to reach people. That proof was not guaranteed forever, but walking away right when the evidence first appeared would mean rejecting the one thing he could not fake: results. Quitting would not be a wise exit. It would be a form of giving up before the test was complete. Jason chose not to quit. On discouragement days, quitting sounds reasonable, but when the first proof shows up, walking away becomes the bigger mistake. Option 3, keep going, but stop grinding blind. This was his actual choice. Not grind harder in the way that people say it when they mean work more and hope. He did not believe hope was a substitute for diagnosis. Jason had already seen proof that working smarter changes outcomes. He had lived long enough in this process to learn that effort is not useless, but it is not automatically effective either. Sometimes the work is good and still fails because it is packaged in a way that the right viewer cannot quickly understand. Sometimes the work is consistent and still disappears because it competes with itself. So he built his decision around a simple rule. If you want different results, you have to use the information you already have to change your inputs. Jason did not need a motivational slogan. He needed patterns. He had 2 examples that were close enough to feel real, not theoretical. First example, titles. One of his channels found its footing soon after he changed how he titled videos. The content itself did not need to be reinvented every time. The improvement came from clarity, making the promise of the video match what the viewer is actually looking for. He did not just feel better, he saw better performance. When he adjusted titles, viewers were no longer guessing. They were understanding faster, and the platform rewarded that match. Second example, upload speed and scheduling. Another channel was losing views, and it took Jason time to recognize the pattern. The content was being uploaded too fast. Videos were being released close together, and new uploads were burying previous ones before they could gain momentum. It was not that viewers disliked the work, it was that the work could not be seen long enough to travel. Once he fixed the schedule, spreading uploads out so each video had time to breathe, the issue improved. That improvement was not magic, it was not luck, it was feedback. Jason treated those outcomes as data, not destiny. This is the difference. He did not choose blind effort. He chose purposeful effort. Jason's goal was not to never quit as a personality trait. He was building a method that reduced the need to quit at all. He wanted the discipline to keep showing up, but he also wanted intelligence in the process. Not intelligence as in complexity, but intelligence as in responsiveness. That is what grind smarter really means in his life. It means he continues the work daily, because consistency still matters. It means he keeps learning, because feedback exists whether he looks for it or not. And it means he stops treating every channel like it is the same problem wearing a different cover. He had been doing that earlier. He used similar tactics across all channels and called it consistency. But consistency is not the same as repetition with no reflection. Grinding on purpose looks like this. You keep creating even when the numbers are uncomfortable. You do not change everything at once. You identify one likely cause. You test one adjustment. You observe the results. Then you adjust again, based on what actually happens, not on what you wish would happen. Jason did not present this as a flawless system. He did not pretend every adjustment works immediately, but he did insist on one principle. Change must be connected to evidence. If a title change improves performance, that becomes a signal. If a scheduling change prevents burying, that becomes a signal. If a strategy does not work, that also becomes a signal, even when it feels discouraging. Signals are better than guesses. When you see improvement after a change, you do not need to argue with yourself. You document it and apply it again. Grinding on purpose also includes how you think about time. A general audience may not want to hear spreadsheet talk, but they do understand the human consequence. Clustering your efforts can bury your own work. In simple terms, if you release everything at once, you reduce the chance that each piece reaches the right moment. Jason's schedule adjustment was not about being fancy. It was about giving each video a fair chance to be discovered. So he built a content calendar that spaced upload dates more evenly, not to chase some algorithm fantasy, just to protect each release from being overwhelmed by the next release. That change helped his output feel calmer and more deliberate. It also helped him see the impact of each upload more clearly, because fewer videos were competing for attention at the same time. That clarity matters. You cannot learn accurately when everything is stacked on top of everything else. When your schedule is chaotic, your results become confusing. Give each piece room, and learning becomes possible. Jason also made a decision about mindset. Momentum is not just motivation. Momentum is behavior that continues even when you are not thrilled. There were days when he typed more slowly, dragging through the work because he felt stuck. Then he would make a focused adjustment, often small, and the work would start to feel more direct, more intentional. He noticed something important. When he knew what to change next, he typed faster, not because he became superhuman, but because his attention sharpened. He stopped wandering through the process. Grinding on purpose means your effort is guided. You are not merely producing content, you are also refining it. You are not waiting for energy, you are building it by choosing the next right move. And then there was the part no one likes to admit: stubbornness. Jason was hard-headed, yes. He was not going to pretend that his personality made everything easy. But he drew an essential line between stubborn and stupid. Stubborn means you keep going even when progress is slow. Stupid means you keep repeating the same failing approach just because it feels familiar. Jason refused to confuse the two. He kept going. He did not switch off. But he changed when the evidence required it. He did not shut down any of his 5 channels. That decision was not denial of reality. It was respect for the process. It was also a commitment to gather more data before concluding that something was broken beyond repair. Because sometimes growth is not linear. Sometimes one channel struggles for a while and then suddenly finds traction when the presentation finally clicks. Jason knew that from experience, especially after seeing those first signs of life. So he kept his chair, he kept his routine, he kept his work. And he made sure the work was more intelligent each week, not merely louder.
Stubborn can be strength, but only if it is paired with learning. To make this feel real to the viewer, Jason wanted the audience to imagine a simple outcome. You change one thing based on evidence. The view count trends upward. The schedule stops burying your own work. The subscriber count begins to reflect that the content is reaching people. The numbers are not the only goal, but they are a visible consequence of matching value to the right viewers.
And when it happens, it is not proof that everything is guaranteed forever. It is proof that your choices matter. Jason wanted the audience to see that shift, even if they were not in his exact situation. Maybe your situation is a job hunt. Maybe it is a course you are building. Maybe it is learning a skill that did not feel rewarding at first.
The principle still applies. Do not confuse keep trying with keep doing the same thing while pretending you are learning. Learn in public if you must, but adjust in private if needed. So Jason ended with the message he could stand behind. Not quitting, not standing still, grinding smarter. That is the real story. Small changes repeated with purpose until the results begin to show. He also addressed the unspoken fear many people carry. What if I change and it still does not work? Jason's answer was direct. If you change with evidence, you are not gambling blindly. You are running a better test. And every test teaches something. Even when outcomes remain disappointing, the process becomes clearer. You learn what not to do, which is still progress. Blind grinding teaches you very little. It can keep you busy, but it rarely teaches you why things are stuck. Grinding smarter is different. It turns frustration into information. So the final line was simple and non-negotiable. The kind of statement that does not ask the viewer to pretend they feel good. It asks them to make a practical choice today. Not quitting, not standing still, grinding smarter. Subscribe and watch it happen.